Peace. Welcome to the Real HD Show, back from hiatus to bring you that greatness. We are the Real HD Show, the higher discussion. This is the show that you're going to find on these or any other airwaves where we tackle the good, the bad, the ugly of our culture, and we do it with freedom music. Freedom music happens 7:30 to 8 o'clock. If you tap into the call letters down below, and then you put them in your URL, your address bar up above, you too can tap into all that motivational greatness that we can't deliver on the show. Don't worry, sync license coming. um but I am your host, Vic. I'm glad that you could be rocking with us. You're rocking with the best. It is a manic Monday, lot to do, lot to get through. But before we do, make sure you like, share, subscribe, and comment, and turn on your notifications now and always. So every time that we jump on the airwaves, you too can rock out with us and have a higher discussion. I am, I got a new setup here, brand new microphone. We're trying something new. Let us know if you can hear us. If you can, that will be a benefit. Let me check the levels. Make sure we straight out the. Yep, we straight on the levels. So let me know at home. Tap in because we blasting off the 5 Facebook channels: YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, Mob Crush, Trovo Nation, D Live. We are everywhere you want to be. We are the Real HD Show. Also, let's pay these bills. You know what I mean? Total Package Energy. Make sure when you need that all natural energy kick, go to totalpackageenergy.com. Tell them the Real HD Show sent you, and you will get everything you need for speed. Bring 5 people to the Real HD Show, courtesy of yourself, and you will receive a gift certificate that gives you an opportunity to have a 4-night, 3-day vacation at a American destination near you, thanks to the Real HD Show and Redeem Vacations. Also, if you're in the Rochester area, make sure that you are checking out Be Healthy Fresh Food Markets. Uh, go check out Negus. Go check out Imhotep. They're real good people. They're gonna take care of you. I believe they're on 3 or 4 locations. They will hit you off something lovely with all of the soups, salads, wraps, shakes, all the stuff that you need to stay healthy. Be Healthy Fresh Food Markets. Also, all the way from the NOLA, we are looking at, that's right, Bats, Sneakers, Revolutionary Soul, technology, a cross between Vans and Hirachis. Get you a pair when they come to a store near you. Bats. Also, check out Black House. Black House, the grand opening was a little, mid last month. I'm assuming they did well. Shout out to the homie Jazz. I hope everything is going well with that. I gotta go down there and patronize my damn self. Check out Black House for all your art and cultural item needs. Also, last but not least, is in the bonus. We are in the bonus. That's right, a hoop show for hoop heads. You know what I'm saying? And it's featuring uh Avarice and ball player luck. You know what I'm saying? With the Real HD Show production team on the ones and twos, we are going through top 10 players, Monera. Make sure you tap into that. We are finishing up our point guard series. We're going to double up this week. We're going to go on Thursday and then again on Sunday. So make sure you check that out if you are a hoops head. We are bringing you all things hoops, all things NBA on in the bonus. And like we always do, before we get started, we always like to jump into our first segment, our ancestors and elders blueprint on the Real HD Show. Because, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. A lot of the solvents for our problems have already been created. All we have to do is adjust them to our times. So today, one of today's, elder and ancestor moment is gonna come to you from none other than the maestro himself, Barry White. And he wants to talk about the power of our people. That's right, the power of our people. Because our people got power, man. You didn't know? We didn't have to depend on, just one election cycle or being enthralled in an election cycle, being someone's battery for their power rituals that happens every 4 years. We can claim and chart our own destiny. And Barry White is going to talk about that. We're going to delve into that topic a lot more because I think that's pivotal to the nature of what we're dealing with tonight and what we're dealing with in terms of how we move as a people forward from this election cycle and what we learned from it, because it's pivotal to learn from our whatever, the good, the bad, and the ugly of what we do, so we can make things better and leave this earth better than we inherited it. So we're gonna hear from the maestro right now about the untapped power of our folks. Check it out.
In to play down our power. Well, don't worry about it. This next guy do it, or let's ask God above to do it. There's a lot of things that has to change on this planet Earth that only we can change. Until we embrace the fact that we are as powerful as we are as beings, we're going to continue to make mistakes and allow the mistakes to be made, from our children to whatever situation you want to talk about.
All right, that was the maestro. He is reminding us. That was the maestro, Barry White. I am your host, Vic. You are tapped into the Real HD Show. We are blasting off to 5 Facebook channels: YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram. We are everywhere you want to be. We are the Real HD. That was the maestro, Barry White, talking about us realizing our untapped power. And until we do that, until we are sovereign in our thinking and independent in our movements, then we will continue to make the mistakes until those lessons are learned. What say you guys? Tap in. Let us know. Is the maestro Barry White correct? Or is he flawed in his thinking? Should we get along? Should we participate in the power structure that may or may not serve us? Or should we forge our own path? Let us know. Jump in the comments. It's on you what you're going to do. It's the Real HD Show. All right. And that was our elder and ancestors blueprint moment on the Real HD Show. So please tap in. There's the link below. You know what I'm saying? Put it in your address bar up above. You know what I'm saying? And you too can join us and get your point across on the Real HD Show. We are back. We had a little hiatus, but we back for greatness, baby. You know what I mean? And like anything else, we're going to continue with our segments. And we are into our AAT report, our healthy, wealthier, and wiser for a brand new you, because we need cell power. And before we get started, let me not forsake the intro music. Cue the intro. So earlier today, I was gonna read off something that had to do with the fundamental, you know, credentialing of the medical profession, and I thought it was prophetic. It was by Risa Islam, and he had some really interesting things to say about credentialing and the health of America versus credentialing. But I'll get to that, and I'll probably have that ready for you on Wednesday. But I got another Risa Islam clip that might be just as potent. And this one is talking about a particular outbreak that I don't think everybody is keen on. Um, it has a lot to do with the crown controversy. If you know what I'm talking about a crown, we just got out of the crown period, right? So the crown v controversy may have had an antecedent to it. And we got to see what that is. Let's talk about that right now. We are in an AAT report, healthy, wealthy, and wiser for a brand new you. Let's see what Reza Islam is talking about in terms of his guest on his hit a show. I believe it's Extreme Opinions or Extreme something like that. But anyway, he's dope. Check him out. He blast off on Twitter mostly. That's his platform mostly. I'm sure he's on Instagram and I'm sure he's on Facebook as well. So you can look those up. But we're gonna get into a Reza Islam moment. Really, real intelligent brother. He's gonna drop some situations on you. He's gonna drop some information and awareness on you that you need to hear, and then maybe it may spark you to do a little more digging yourself. Check this out.
There was no voicemail. Curiosity got the best of me. I called it back. It was William Thompson.
Wow.
After all these years. And he starts confessing. Confessing the CDC is committing fraud. The CDC has lied. And, I was kind of the mercury guy. I was really concerned about thimerosal and vaccines. And he said, no, wait a minute. You need to look at the MMR. You need to look at the measles, mumps, rubella vaccine. And he arranged a way for me to get data from an MMR study that the CDC had published back in 2004. And he entreated me. He said, go ahead and reanalyze this. And so I did. Something popped out very, very quickly within like an hour of sitting down with a data set, and it was about African American males. And so I call him. I said, tell me about African American males. His answer to me was, oh, you found it.
Wow.
You found it.
Wow.
And so I said, Bill, what did I find? Come to find out, if the CDC would have been truthful and would have published the information, they would have admitted back in 2004 that African American males that receive the MMR on time, that's anywhere between 12 and 15 months of age, are 3.8 times more likely to get an autism diagnosis than if they merely wait until they're after 3 years of age.
And at the time, if they would have admitted this information and brought it out,
yes,
in 2001 or 2002, how many black boys would have been saved from having an autism diagnosis if they would have admitted it at that time?
That was 23 years ago. So if you look at the history of autism cases over that 23-year time period, it would have prevented about 350,000 autism cases in the U.S. alone for African American males. 350,000.
See, and this is why there is a reason why we don't trust this government. And this is one of those reasons.
Wow, that's powerful. I'm hearing that probably the first time with you. We are in the middle of an AAT report, Healthy, Wealthier, and Wiser. And that was Reza Islam with his guest on his show. And they were talking about the MMR that's on the schedule shots that you need to go to school. And one of the intricate things that they said was if you got the shot before 3 years old in your, I guess, really, really crucial developmental years, you had almost you had a over 100% chance of having a autism diagnosis. That means you're going to contract autism. Now, is that directly correlated to getting the shot? Or did the shot awaken something in a latent development scenario for, melanated boys in this country? That remains to be seen. But what does remain, what is apparent is that the CDC held back this information and they could have let this go. And what's interesting? Right around that time, I was teaching at Head Start. And when you accept a new kid into school, at the pre-kindergarten phase, you have to test their cognitive functions, and one of the cognitive tests that we give is called the Brigance, and the Brigance test their cognitive function and motor skills, their fine motor skills, so that we can catch developmental disabilities early. And right around that time, the country starts to spike in this epidemic of autism and learning disabilities. And it starts this like 20-year wave of a lot of children get, now he said, they said especially boys, coming down with autism. And it was almost like an epidemic that nobody understood. And now there might be just a little bit more understanding if you go to that CDC website, because it's public information. They held it back, and we need to know what is the actual repercussions of them holding it back. Did they impact an entire generation of kids with onset autism when they could have delayed it with more study? Because sometimes they release these vaccines, they release these, there was the MMR vaccine, they release these, like, I guess, prototypes that they call themselves improving upon from the old studies. And does that improve or make the situation more detrimental while you call yourself vaccinating an entire population? We here with you, and we want you to be here with us. We are the Real HD Show. We are rocking out on a Monday night, trying to get right. We back and better than ever. We were on a hiatus, but we back for greatness. And we got Brother Mozzie and Brother Sev. Yo, we deep already. Peace, frat. Peace, good brother. How are y'all, man? Welcome to the Real HD Show. We back and better than ever. How y'all doing?
All good, all good.
Yeah. Life, man. Living life. It has its that roller coaster, but other than that, can't let it get you down. Can't be too upset.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Just clean up the milk you spilled and keep it rolling.
Right. That's all you really can do, man. They tried to get you, your boy came back from overseas and came back to a ish storm, you know what I mean? But we calm the waters, and we here trying to get it done. Peace, Sev. How you doing, bro? What's going on with you, man? How's the family? Everybody good?
Yeah, everybody chilling, man. Just doing things, living life.
Right.
Making progress. That's all.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, man. So we on here, and we hope more can join. Let me flip this table here, so everybody's, rocking out on a, decent level. So we were just in the middle of an AAT report, Healthy, Wealthier, and Wiser for a Brand New You, and we were dealing with a Riza Islam video about the MMR vaccine and some information that wasn't exactly common knowledge, but it is now. And they have gotten some, well, without further ado, let me just play it, and then you guys can tell me what you think of it. We're going to run that one more again on the Real HD Show. Y'all tap in, man. Leave y'all comments on here, man. We blast them off everywhere. Real HD Show. Check this out.
There was no voicemail. Curiosity got the best of me. I called it back. It was William Thompson.
Wow.
After all these years. And he starts confessing. Confessing the CDC is committing fraud. The CDC has lied. And, I was kind of the mercury guy. I was the, really concerned about thimerosal and vaccines. And he said, no, wait a minute. You need to look at the MMR. You need to look at the measles, mumps, rubella vaccine. And he arranged a way for me to get data from an MMR study that the CDC had published back in 2004. And he entreated me. He said, go ahead and reanalyze this. And so I did. Something popped out very, very quickly within like an hour of sitting down with a data set. And it was about African American males. And so I call him. I said, tell me about African American males. His answer to me was, oh, you found it.
Wow.
You found it.
Wow.
And so I said, Bill, what did I find? Come to find out, if the CDC would have been truthful and would have published the information, they would have admitted back in 2004 that African American males that receive the MMR on time, that's anywhere between 12 and 15 months of age, are 3.8 times more likely to get an autism diagnosis than if they merely wait until they're after 3 years of age.
And at the time, if they would have admitted this information and brought it out,
Yes.
In 2001 or 2002, how many black boys would have been saved from having an autism diagnosis if they would have admitted it at that time?
That was 23 years ago. So if you look at the history of autism cases over that 23-year time period, it would have prevented about 350,000 autism cases in the U.S. alone for African American males. 350,000.
See, and this is why there is a reason why we don't trust this government. And this is one of those reasons.
All right. So there you have it. Brother Reza Islam on his show, Extreme Voices. And real dope if you catch it. It's on Twitter. Brother, one of the, really bright voices from the Nation of Islam. And I thought this was interesting because I just saw this for the first time today. And I can remember in 2004, I was teaching at Head Start in Baltimore. And one of the things when we accept new children, we had to give them a cognitive development test that would, of course, assess their, cognitive abilities as they're approaching kindergarten age to see if they're going to be a functioning, kindergarten kid, first grade child, or if are they going to have developmental disabilities. Now, Sev, you're a lifelong teacher, now a principal, and so what you have more experience in this realm, or you should know a little bit about where I'm coming from. What are your thoughts? And I've seen a rash of autism cases that spiked right around 2000 to where we are now, and a lot of young men with developmental disabilities that spiked, in terms of autism from then to now. What do you make of, that clip? And have you experienced anything like that in your your journey as an educator?
So there's definitely a lot of kids that have autism. I can't say it's a vast majority of the school population. I would
Mm-hmm.
say that at least in my school, I would say 1% of the school population that might have, autism. So that's probably, without doing the studies or anything like that, that's probably on average across the district, 1%. So the scientist in me, right, or the wannabe scientist in me, is saying that you need to do, we need to do a little more research, because what he's trying to suggest is that um, the MMR vaccine is what's causing autism. But what he doesn't tell you on the flip side of that, just thinking, right, is that you cannot go to school, a public school, without vaccines.
Right.
And the vast majority of the kids in schools don't have autism. So you have to look at the science and say, well, all right, if these 1% have autism and this 95% of the students don't, and they have to have the same type of vaccine or MMR, right? Vaccine, all of it, just say vaccines in general.
Mm-hmm.
Then where's the connection between the MMR vaccine and autism, right? How come you don't have 90% of the kids with autism? You don't see that. So
According to the video, they were saying if it fluctuated when you actually administered the shot, like if you got the shot after 3 years old or before 3 years old, that was like the impactful period as to when you may see, the onset of it, or it has a chance to develop. Brother Mozzie, what's your thoughts of, what you just saw? And have you come across anything like this in your journey?
I will say, I don't know if it's autism or, well, I guess Asperger's is a form of, high functioning autism. I have run across a lot of kids, just, in my mentoring and stuff that I do and working with kids. It seems like I run into a lot of kids who can't process, and socially just not all together, and emotionally something goes off in a man and you just can't talk to him. You can even agree and repeat back to them what they just said to you, and they just don't seem to. Just something's not clicking. So I don't know what that really is. I don't know if that's, maybe these kids did take the vaccine and that's the side effects, or is it a socialization aspect? Because I think you guys both know, being educators, some of these kids, when you talk to them and they hit a certain point, it's like they just go into an alternate state of reality. And like the ears shut down, they hear nothing else. Even if you repeat back to them what they're saying to you, that they keep saying to you. It's like so I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I have to go with 7. I have to see the data. I have to look at just some more data on that. But I do believe that a lot of these vaccines do have harmful effects. And I would say about 23, 25 years ago was when the technology got to the point where the vaccines were very ethno-specific, so to speak. And as we always know and find out later on, that we are always have been guinea pigs. So I can follow where he's going with that, and I won't say no to it, but I can't give it a definitive yes. But I will say this: I'm just glad I don't have kids in school right now, man. I did not vaccinate my children. But I knew the loopholes. I knew the people in the district. So it wasn't an issue for me. So yeah.
Can I jump in real quick too?
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, bro.
Yeah, I just want to say, when you're talking about kids, there's a lot of factors. You can't really just point to one thing, man, right? There's new science out now about the role of telomeres, right? In the development of problems with kids. We also know that trauma is passed on generationally, right? So we know that all of these things, can impact nutrition, right? How kids are eating. I see kids coming to school, right, and they eat snack, like what's these new things now, Takis and all sorts of crazy stuff every day right before they even go to school. So how is your brain nourished in the morning when you're eating that stuff? So I think we got to kind of look at a lot of different factors, man. I know, we get it, man. We've seen this Tuskegee experiments. We've seen all of those things, right? And as a people, we understand that. But I think one thing as a people we have to start doing a little bit more is digging a little deeper, looking at the research, and saying that it may not just be one answer. Vaccines may be an answer. Both my kids were vaccinated. My daughter got a master's degree, architect, graduated at the top of her class. My son got degrees, graduated at the time, went to the best schools, right? Played sports, did all that. So it's not that I was vaccinated as a kid. I got a doctorate, right? So we don't know what it is that's causing that. We can't specifically say that it's just, right, vaccines. We got to look at all of the factors that might be involved.
Well, I agree. There's no disagreeing with that. Like, you're not gonna just not do the knowledge to it and then accept it on face value. But this is something that isn't widely known at all as a cause. That's a possible causation. I think we're in the era of the whistleblowers, and as whistleblowers come and go, you'll see all kinds of new truths, new evidence come out. And then, of course, you have to, verify it to see if it's factual or not factual, or to what degree it affects the given population. I just thought it was an interesting health fact, a health idiom to discuss, and for people to, and please, everybody at home, take this little bit of information that I share with you right now. Go do your own research and come back to the Real HD show and let's discuss it. See if there's any correlation, see if there's any causations, and see how the school population is affected within that. If someone has that vaccine, with the MMR vaccine, within the 0 to 3-year-old range, what that amounts to, and then what happens a little later on if they're if they get it a little later on. I'd be curious to, do a wide range study of, some of these, what do you call that? When you have to get your physical before, school to like play sports and all of
Mm-hmm.
that. I'd be curious to see after a 10-year period what the, what the evidentiary information indicates. So, this is not a definitive thing that I'm showing you guys. This is just something to be aware of, something to move, something to put in your back pocket and stay aware
Well,
of.
I think what it does is it just it gives, because we have people who really believe in a lot of things in this country, and when we start talking about some of this stuff, sometimes you look like the crazy guy with the funny
Yeah.
hat, standing out there on the corner with the sign and whatever else. So this is just one of those things that kind of just help you to say, hey, I'm not all that crazy if this is stuff I'm espousing. I'm not all that crazy. Here's some more evidence to say there are things that are happening to us. Is this it? It could be, it could not be. But there are constantly things that are happening to us. And we as Black people are not paranoid. We know these things are going on. So here's another person who done blew the whistle to say, hey, they are doing these type of things. And it validates who we are in terms of we're not crazy.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing because you'll hear a lot of health professionals that like to, wag the finger at folks who don't trust the healthcare system. But here we go with another possible idiom that may be detrimental to us that was held back. And then it's specifically affect boys, if true, if it is something that's actually valid. So we will see, man. You know what I mean? I know the NIH has a study on it, so you guys can go on their website. I wasn't able to pull up. I usually have the receipt on that. I wasn't able to pull up that NIH mention on it, but I saw it earlier today. I just didn't have the time to grab it between everything I had to do today and now. But I just wanted to pop that in, man. That was our AAT report, Healthy, Wealthy, and Wiser, for a brand new you, because we need cell power and we need to be informed on how to get more. All right. Um, so we're gonna keep it moving. Please like, share, subscribe, and if you want to, you can join the show and tell us what you think about what's going on. There's the call letters below, streamyard.com. G4239 X, what is that? WP9H. And you too can join us backstage. I'll pull you up and we can get it in. We are the Real HD Show. What's going on with y'all, man? How y'all doing? And we're gonna be here. We here for this tonight. There's no safety nets for identity politics. You know what I mean? And the reason why I thought of that title tonight is because of a lot of the results of, this past election season. Before we get started and before we get into the nitty gritty of that, let me get y'all first impressions of, what's going on with this election, the turnout, the outcome, and we can begin to take it from there. And any of y'all can jump in whenever y'all want.
I'll start. So I wasn't surprised, but it was disappointing. What was disappointing to me was, the amount of non African Americans, I'll use that term, that voted for Trump. Although, it was 20% of us, I think it was 20% of us black males that voted for Trump. It was still split down the middle, amongst white women. White males had an overwhelming majority for Trump, and Hispanic males, and I think Hispanic women had about 60% for Trump. So it's a little surprising how, people voted against their own interests. But I understand that economics was a factor, and if you're the incumbent and the people feel the economy is bad, it's just hard to overcome that, So it is what it is. We'll see, how it pans out. We know Republicans are usually good for a couple of recessions, in their 4-year tenure, and we'll see how it pans out in the next few years, because Trump's ideas of tariffs and cutting education, and it's Reaganomics all over again. It seems to me like we're going to be moving back to the 80s, right? Mass incarceration, all of these different things that we dealt with, and seemingly we thought we got through that part of our history, but now it seems history is repeating itself again. So hopefully in 20 years, we're not looking back on this like we look back on that 94 crime bill. We're pointing the fingers at each other saying, well, you voted for that bill. You voted for Trump, So like we just gotta, just deal with it for now. But I think it's gonna be some rough times ahead.
Yeah, I echo that same sentiment. We in for some hard times. But I don't have the confidence that we're going to come out of it in the long term, because the type of moves that are being made, they're being made more on a nationalistic. This country has facing some serious issues. One, our debt is starting to outstrip our GDP. And we all know that. If you got heavy credit card debt and you ain't making that much money, you can't pay back your credit cards. We got, nations around the country that are dropping the dollar as the, reserve currency and creating their own voting blocks. And remember, I always say on this show, white people have a fixation on black people. And you're so busy worrying about us that you're not taking care of your home. And if most white people consider America to be their home, and there is no other place that they came from, and everybody else need to go back, that's fine. But the reality is, you have some serious issues that you got to address. You can tell people go back to Mexico all you want, which we know most of the immigrants that have come over in the past couple of years were not from Mexico. They're from other parts of Central America and Venezuela in particular. And the interesting play on the whole Venezuelan piece is, a lot of folks are kind of just like when Castro emptied the prisons during the Mario boat lift. Same thing they did in Venezuela. They emptied the prisons. And then what's even more funnier is Venezuela has some of the largest, if not the largest, untapped oil deposits on the planet. And so instead of us trying to be their friend, we do things, this country does things the white way, in which it always does, which is we treat people like a piece of shit. We've been working very hard to destabilize Venezuela. And I don't know if you guys have been reading the international news, but they've been cozying up to China.
Mm-hmm.
So who now is going to be in position to get
South American countries.
A lot of South American companies, but the main one,
Yep.
The main one is China. And recently, China done made their 5th trip there this year, and it looks like they're going to make some agreements to help them to develop it. So who do you think is going to get the oil or have control over the oil? In this country, we want to stay on fossil fuels. Where the hell are you going to get it from? So, there's a lot of issues that we have. You want to put tariffs, brother, like you mentioned. We got tariffs for putting on things. Tariffs only hurt the product. It's going to cause the product to cost more. We can send people back to Mexico. You know where they're going to go? They're going to go work for American companies that move to Mexico. So it's amazing how bright these individuals are. And their only concern really is to make sure Black people in particular don't get over on them, because they have this fixation, as Dr. Bobby Wright used to say, the psychopathic racial personality. They are so fixated on Blackness and Black people that they can't see themselves clear of anything that would help them out. So we got some issues, man. I don't know where we're going to get money. Come on, China owns $800 billion of our debt. Japan owns $200 billion. Yeah. So how are you going to get yourself out of this? We don't make anything in this country anymore. Think about this. Over the past 2 to 3 years, think of how many food processing plants have burnt down in this country. And remember, just last year or so, we had this issue with baby formula. And people are so removed from who they are as human beings, they're freaking out. Like, pop that damn titty in their mouth. I mean, I'm a guy. I don't breastfeed kids, but I'm like, God damn, you can't figure that shit out. You just had a baby, breastfeed it. But everybody has problems breastfeeding their children. So we don't produce anything of worth of the things that we need to survive in this country. All we produce is consumer goods, like those car mats you can get for your car, those new car tech, whatever. You can put in your car and they tell you the perfect one for your car and everything. And them shits cost a couple $100 for them shits. When I can go and just grab me at the local 5 and dime and get me a pair for like $20 though in my car. Even though I drive a Beamer, don't care. It's just a mat. You know what I mean? So we don't produce anything that you need to survive.
And I think also, we have to look behind the veil. So right now, everything that's being produced for America is coming from like China, India. They're manufacturing. All of our manufacturing is coming.
Nothing.
So that's why we don't have any jobs. But the corporations don't want to move the jobs back to America. They just tell us that. Why they don't want the jobs to come back to America? Because you got to pay health care. You got to pay a higher minimum wage. All of these factors are going. They don't want that. So I think, and this is my opinion, just pure speculation, they're going to go to war with China, do something where they're going to force China in a sense to be an ally, just like they did Japan, right? And then they control the influx of goods from China. They like once they control that, then it'll be easy. It's straight politics. It's economics. They're not bringing the jobs back to America. They'll never come back. The corporations will never allow it. All America is a retail industry. It's a retail.
Mm-hmm.
We're not gonna manufacture cars on a high level anymore. Forget about that. We're not gonna manufacture computer chips anymore. Those jobs are gone. They're done. So, we got to wake up and start looking behind the veil. We think that these dudes are going to bring jobs back, but they might bring back jobs for immigrants, right? The retail jobs, little cheap jobs, they'll bring back those jobs. That's why a lot of the immigrants with the green cards are voting for Trump. You see these videos now, they voting for Trump. They want Trump, they don't think that he's going to ship them home because they're good workers. No, he's going to ship all y'all home, but he's going to move them jobs to them countries that he's shipping the Mexicans back to.
Well,
so let me ask a quick question for both of y'all, intelligent brothers. Y'all could volley this however y'all want. Based on the tenets of the Monroe Doctrine, all of these countries are supposed to be protectorates under America's umbrella because we're supposed to guard against, invasion, foreign and domestic. Did America, in its savage inequalities, miss a golden opportunity to expand the United States, I guess, trust or its capacity for statehood and not embrace the Caribbean and South America as one big? The same way we did Canada. We have a better, I guess, commercial relationship with Canada, sovereign relationship with Canada. Did we miss an opportunity to bring South America and the Caribbean in the fold as adjunct states to the United States? And now we see China doing its Pac-Man routine all over the globe, and now they're over here. What do y'all think about that? And also the one critical question that I always ask is, what does that got to do with us? How are we affected by that? But go ahead.
Well, I would say we didn't miss our opportunity. I'm speaking as just a regular American at the moment.
Right.
We didn't miss our opportunity. We did exactly what we do all the time. This country, it has an exploitive nature on everything it does. So the relationship that it wanted to create was one of exploitation.
Mm-hmm.
And so now you're seeing the fruits of that. We don't want to deal with you no more. We don't want nothing to do with you. But here's another thing that people don't understand. We have a military that's costing us $1 trillion a year. And guess how much? And at least a couple billion of that goes to China to make parts, top secret parts for our weaponry. So we ain't gonna go to war with China because all they got to do is like they do now, not ship anything, and we're screwed. But another thing that's happening too is, which a lot of people don't understand, the standard of living is rising in China dramatically. And a lot of people don't want to do business with China anymore. So India, right now, if you look at some of the global economics, India right now is companies are leaving China in droves. It takes a few years to get these ginormous factories up and going, but they're moving to India now. And now India and China have this strife, but we are not in no position. The only way we will fight China, in my opinion, is if we decide to obliterate the planet. We don't have the manpower, and we really don't have the weaponry, the mechanized weaponry, to get in there and engage in combat. The only thing that we can do is launch weapons, launch missiles.
But it could be a cyber war too, right?
That's what everybody's predicting. That's what they say is going to be the main ingredient to, introduce the CBDs full blow. You know what I mean? To introduce them full go, is there going to be some sort of cyber attack that makes everybody, shaking their britches?
Here's the issue. We don't build much by way of the cyber attack is going to be very easy because most of the products are made over in China, and China is always building backdoors into all the consumer products that are made. The only places where they're actually building and making their own chips are on Wall Street and some of the areas of the government where, like Pentagon, I forget which one it was, but a couple of them are making their own equipment now because they realized and found out that the reason why the Russians and the reason why the Chinese were constantly hacking them is because when you're going to buy equipment from the people you don't want to see you. Does that make any sense? It's like white women voting against their own interests. It's that kind of stuff. So some of them realize that, especially in the financial market. So they have commissioned smaller companies that manufacture motherboards and chips here in this country. And so they don't have that back door built in. But on a larger scale with stuff that are being made, we're buying it from the same people that we're trying to fight the cyber attack against. It doesn't make much sense. Plus, we don't have enough students in this country that has the temperament to sit there and learn cybersecurity anymore. We live in a TikTok world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Sisters ain't got to do nothing but show some ass and get some BBLs. Dudes got to just walk around and do the goofy shit. And that's what they're looking to do and make money and get to travel, eat good food, man. This country, people ain't trying to work hard no more, man. We've created in the past 10 to 15 years a bunch of people who and this is not just young kids, this is adults. 50-year-old and 40-year-old content creators. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but people are forgetting the value of hard work and discipline. That is going out the window. Why am I gonna work hard and be disciplined for that delayed gratification when I can do some stupid shit right now that don't require much thought and get my instant gratification?
Well, you're going to get a whole lot of thought right here on the Real HD show because I'm about to show y'all a clip. Let me share my screen, and I want y'all excellent brother's opinion. Switching gears just a bit. This is, are you familiar with Dr. Shahid King Bolson?
Yes, my bro.
Yeah, man. He has some interesting things to say about the elections, and I wanted to play it for the people so we could get a different opinion, because everybody's pointing fingers. No, it's the white women, it's black men, it's this one, it's that one, the white one or the black one.
Real quick before you play that,
go ahead. I'm just setting it up anyway. Go ahead.
Okay, people don't do their homework, man. We got a 5-minute memory, man. Not that many people showed up to vote. Yes, they won the popular vote, but there's still about 10 to 20 million people that didn't show up to vote this year. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm gonna play this clip really quick, and then hopefully it's about 2 minutes. Bear with me. He makes some solid points, and I wanted to get you guys thoughts at home. Please put your comments in, and Adaris Fett and Brother Mozzie, y'all give y'all great opinions after y'all see this, or at least hear it. Check this out, Real HD Show.
Obviously, there's not a question about whether or not they have free and fair elections in the United States. Why would they? Why would you think that they did? They interfere with elections all around the world. They interfere with the election just recently in South Africa. They interfere with elections in Georgia. They interfere with elections everywhere they go. They subvert democracy all around the world. What makes you think that they wouldn't subvert democracy right there at home? Of course they do. Well, I think that they interfere and subvert democracy in their own country uh, more effectively and more comprehensively than they're even able to do it in other countries. And we know that they're able to do it in other countries extremely well and extremely effectively and get the results that they want. So do you think that they're not going to ensure that they get the results that they want in their own country? Of course they do. You'd be naive to think that they don't. They didn't just find out that Joe Biden has experienced cognitive decline. They didn't just find out that the man has dementia. All of those people in the Democratic Party who were pushing for him to step down or pushing for him to not seek re-election, they've been interacting with him. They've been talking to him. They know perfectly well that the man has lost his mind. And they've been knowing that for 4 years, and they didn't mind. This isn't about wanting him to step down or wanting him to step aside because they think that he's not competent. No one ever thought he was competent. What it's about is that you know that when your own people, your own Democrats, your own liberals are making fun of Joe Biden online, on social media, on television, in the mainstream media, and so on, the man has become a laughingstock. That means that him winning in a rigged election wouldn't be plausible. No one would believe that. It was barely believable even in 2020. So there's no way that you could get people to actually believe that Democrats turned out in significant enough numbers to give Joe Biden a victory in 2024. He was asked to step down or asked to step aside because the Democratic Party knows that if they want to sell their appointed president to the public as if they were democratically elected, there has to be some degree of plausibility to that. You see, if they could have, they would have given the Democratic Alliance in South Africa the full victory, but it wasn't plausible. So there has to be some degree of believability. I don't.
All right. That you guys could check that out. It's Dr. Shahid King Bolson talks about elections. He gives his interesting take on this, and I have another clip of his to show for tonight. But what do you guys think of his take on this? You don't really hear much activity from people that ruminate from that angle of things. What say you guys on that clip?
I think you make some valid points. I would love to have heard a little more evidence, to suggest why he thinks that, what the data suggests, whatever. But I think that he makes some excellent points. The only thing I would say is, from the Democratic perspective, if this was like a plan to put a Democrat in office, why would they pick Kamala, right? What would she have brought to the table that would make her a viable candidate? You could have picked, like Biden won, he was a white male, right? He had an advantage. Why would you pick a black female from parents who are not even American? If you was trying to rig the election, or if you was trying to, um, ensure that you get a win. I think that where the Democrats messed up. People really didn't like Kamala before. She had a huge run, for those 2 months. A lot of people, loved her, but it's surely, from the results, a lot of people hated her. But I think if we would have had a primary, she probably wouldn't have won that either. So, it's just, you got to think about these things too a little deeper. Like I don't think she gave the Democrats a chance to win. They just threw her out there. I think they set her up for the fall, knowing that she wouldn't win anyway.
That's an interesting point you make because there's some chatter, and I have a article I could pull up on this, but there's some chatter from a big time Democratic donor about how Biden set her up for the fall because of some, I guess, bumping heads between the Democratic leadership from the Democratic Party, right, the DNC, and what they actually wanted. Like they wanted a primary, but Joe didn't want to have to just leave office in a jettison sort of way. He wanted to kind of maintain face, and they made him, they made him bend the knee, so to speak. What you think of Dr. Bolson and what he had to say about rigged elections?
Makes you wonder.
Yeah, man.
I mean, you follow elections in this country. I mean, because think about it, we didn't have a primary.
Mm-hmm.
You can't rig it any more better than no better than that.
Now, do you think that because Biden? Now, come on back, G. You could get on if you want. We good. You can come on back and join us backstage. We welcome all. Come through. But if you're coming on with some nonsense, you might leave with a nub. Just to let you know. Because, hey, Sev, every once in a while I'll get a white boy want to come on here and wild out. So we might have some fun. We might have some fun tonight. Peace, Joseph. Peace, G. Who's this? Welcome to the Real HD Show. You on? If you want to get on, you're going to have to pull up your cam or your audio, one of the two. All right, so whenever you're ready, you can rock out. We'll put you on. All right, so go ahead, Brother Mozzie. What were you saying? Sorry about that.
No, I don't remember, man. Sorry.
No, I just wanted to get an alternate view of what we're looking at from the opinion of people. This is what's the right way to say this? There are always power rituals going on amongst the elite within the country, and maybe I'll pull up that billionaires article where they talked about how billionaires are destroying democracy from the inside out. But what did you think of Brother Bolson's oration, and is there any validity to it?
Well, America's always had a peculiar nature around democracy around the planet, because we always try to control the democracy around the planet. You know what I mean? And we have a history of interfering, and we do have a very documented history of, bottom line, just messing with other people's elections. Some of the elections that take place aren't even real elections. So it's quite funny that we have that going on, but yet in this country, somehow, people in this country seem not to know that, or maybe that's a blind spot for them. They don't want to hear it. So when they talk about the things that they talk about sometimes, and you're just like, do you really understand what goes on in this country? Do you understand what this country kind of pushes around the world? Because if you did, you would look at this country a little bit differently and try and do things a little bit differently. The attitude would be different. Our thought process would be different. How we approach things would be different. And we still approach these things like we're back in the 1800s, early 1900s. We got the big army that's going to go and just beat up everybody, because that's the one thing that this country always did. And I'm realizing that, the little kids used to kick sand on. Remember in the back of the cartoon, the back of the comic books, and the kid used to always kick the dirt in the boy's face, and then I forgot what he used to take, but then he comes back, and now he's the big kid now. He ain't throwing no dirt in his face now. This country gave away and abdicated everything to everybody. Educationally, we're starting to fall on the. I'm not talking about just the K through 12, but one thing we always had was our institutions of higher learning, where all the learning was taking place and everybody was coming over here. Well, now they've gone back to their own countries. I mean, have people seen some of the engineering feats that's been taking place in China? These are people who came to the U.S., learned, and went back home.
Yeah, like what they're doing with their trash in Singapore and
Right, right. In
Taiwan. And
Somalia,
yeah,
and
they're doing some really interesting revolutionary things with their waste as a renewable energy source. So it's interesting.
and we
And
will
even in
continue to
engineering,
ride the exploitation train until we can't ride it no more.
they're building massive bridges that have never been built
Hmm.
before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
know,
You saw
they
that
have some
one. Yeah.
engineering
Yeah.
feats.
Yeah.
I always post them all the time, man. They have engineering feats that are incredible,
Right.
but we
Right.
don't do it. And people say, well, why can't we do it in this country? Because we have an exploitive model. And if we can't exploit it and exploit the people doing it and make maximum profit, we can't do it. And that's so entrenched in America that we can't move beyond that to do anything for the betterment of anybody. Everybody in
So
other countries have a philosophy of, yeah, we may exploit some poor people, but overall, we're trying to make sure we create a just society, a good society for many and most. And in this country, no. Hey, you poor or middle class, or you ain't got yours. Oh well.
and it
hey,
goes back to
peace.
education too. It goes back to education too. We're just not educating our kids properly. We're losing a lot of kids. On the lower socioeconomic end who are really really bright, and they can't get to the highest level where they can become like great engineers and doctors and lawyers. And that's a part of the human intellect that we're missing, that we need in order to change society. But people just want to stay at the top and they don't care, what happens to the people at the bottom. Bernie Sanders always talks about, how the elite is kind of just controlling and dominating everything, and that the Democratic Party forgot about the working class. And I think they forgot about the working class, not just economically, but educationally as well. And we're suffering for it. Look at India, man. Like India is sending people to the moon, right? They putting people in space, like India, right? So come on, man. Like we got a lot of work to do, but until we figure out that education is important and we start putting a value on it, stop trying to charge people, you know, super thousands of dollars to go to college to get an education, right? Like let's give people some opportunities, man, to be successful in life. And that's what's stopping us from growing. I think that's one of the main reasons that's stopping, you know, black people from excelling. It's just not enough of us getting into the math, sciences, even education, like black males in education is lacking. You don't see many black male principals, you don't see many black male teachers and stuff. So, it's stopping us from really excelling. And, people like Dr. Umar Johnson, they talk about building what he calls it, systems or in the community, like hospitals, supermarkets,
Mhm.
things like that. But in order to get those things, like in order to have a hospital in a black community, you need black doctors, you need black CEOs, you need black people with the intellect and the mindset to run these things. These are businesses, these are corporations. They're just not medical centers, right? In a building. So if we don't have those people to run our communities the way they're supposed to be run, you're not going to have it. It's like banks. Like you can't have a bank in a black community if you don't have black bankers, black CEOs of banks, and not just a handful of them, more than one group of them, right? To run these type of things in the community. It just won't happen. So we have to start with
Mhm.
educating our own.
So let me welcome brother Gerald to the Real HD Show. Peace, bro. You want to jump on and tell us who you are, where you coming from, and what do you think of Dr. Shaheed King Bolson and his take on elections. Yeah, you with us? You got to turn on your mic. You live on the stage. You live on the stage, bro. All right, he giving me a message back. You can't hear me. Nah, dag man. Are you calling from your phone or are you calling from your laptop or terminal desktop? Because maybe if you have an instrument like that, you can use maybe your yeah. Try if you have a laptop or a computer, maybe that might bring you in a little clearer. Because I got you backstage, and you live and direct with us. We want to have a higher discussion with you. Just come on through, and we could chop it up. Just keep trying to get through. We'll bring you up. We'll bring you up. All right. So everybody's pointing fingers, and one of the overwhelming reactionary issues is this 4B movement, man. Y'all familiar with that at all?
What is it?
4B movement with the women. The overreaction to who they think is to blame for why Trump got elected. Well, if you don't, let me play something real quick.
Is
and
that
then
the FA something like that?
Say it again.
FAFO.
FAFO.
I know that's like a movement about the election thing.
Now let me play the clip and then we can chop it up on the other side. It's like a couple minutes, about a minute or so. Because I thought this was a little on the ridiculous side, but we gotta kind of know what's out there and stay vigilant, stay aware of what's out there, so we don't trip over our own feet, so to speak. Um, let's see if this. Yeah, this is it. Check it out. Real HD Show.
The 4B movement. So what is it? Actually, a fringe feminist campaign from South Korea. The 4Bs, Korean for four no's, no marrying men, no giving birth, no dating men, and no sex with men.
There is so much pressure in South Korea for women to have kids, and women felt extremely undervalued. So they have sort of banded together to not kind of give into these societal pressures.
South Korea has the world's lowest fertility rate. Now, Google searches for 4B surging to record levels in the U.S. as one of its top trending searches in the last 48 hours. Trump's Supreme Court picks helped overturn Roe v. Wade, unleashing a wave of protests nationwide. His position on abortion access has varied, but during the final stages of his campaign, saying states should decide.
Whether the women like it or not, I'm going to protect them.
So what do y'all think, man? 4B movement, man. No sex, no marriage, no nothing, because there's a misplaced I guess blame on who's at fault for Trump being president now. What do y'all think of that? Have y'all come across anything like that? And what does that say about the state of who we are and what's going on with us? And like I always like to say on the show, what in the world does this have to do with us?
Well, I say more power to them, man. Whatever they want to do, go ahead, keep it pushing. That don't really, I don't think that should resonate in the Black community at all. You know what I mean? Because that don't have nothing to do with us necessarily. But if white women or Asian women decide to stand up against what Trump is deciding, then what he's gonna do, then so be it. That's their issues. I thought you were talking about the FAFO movement that's on TikTok a lot now. They say F around and find out. It's like a new movement.
Oh yeah. I've heard about that too. But I was just talking about how I wanted to explore how fractured things have gotten since the aftermath. But continue.
Yeah, and it's gonna get worse, and I think
I think they should do that because at the end of the day, it's their life. You know what I mean? Like, if they're taking away women's rights, they're trying to go bring you back, generations to this, white male dominant society. Shoot, if I was a woman, I'd be tight too, and wouldn't want to, you know, deal with them like that. So, I say more power for them. Keep it up if they, if they strong enough to keep it going.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. So there's an article and there's a point article I want to read, but Brother Mozzie, you tell me your reaction to the 4B movement that a lot of women, especially sisters, are gravitating to in reaction to what's going on with Trump, and is the blame rightly placed if only 20% of brothers actually is in that camp with Trump?
I would say that they're placing blame in the wrong place. I would also say that this isn't new. Trump was president 4 years ago. So, and the Roe v. Wade stuff took place a few years ago. So why is it now taking a stronghold? I think personally, it's just part of the propaganda campaign for population control and dealing with the fact that we have to reduce the carbon footprint on this planet. So what better ways to do that? The best way to do that is for women to abstain and for men not to get none. So now you're talking, you can keep the population down, because right now that's the biggest threat to the planet, because they project resource wars. The more people we have, the more resources we need. And so who's going to win the wars, or who controls the resources controls the planet? I mean, this is just, that kind of stuff that we got to deal with, man. It's, in my opinion, is somebody, they done dropped the plant in there somewhere that's promoting these things, and they're grabbing hold. Because when Roe v. Wade pretty much was stricken down, how long ago was that? A few years ago, right?
Yeah.
And Trump made an appointment. So now all of a sudden Trump wins. Well, shoot, women shouldn't say that when they didn't say that when Trump got in office the first time. So we have to be. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think you bring up a valid point too. I just think that people are being reactionary now. They see that it's actually gonna get worse. They didn't realize the magnitude. And I think for Black people it's a little different. I think we always knew, we've dealt with this, like you said, for generations. This is really nothing new. Like a Trump presidency is nothing new. We've seen people in the presidency that wasn't pro-Black before, but I think for white women, they starting to see now a little more that this could really set them back a little bit, and all of the programs all of the things that were fought for from them that really started on the backs of Black people, is starting to erode. So affirmative action they benefited from, that was taken away. Now we're going back, right? Roe v. Wade, equal women's rights. That's something that came off of the civil rights movement, right? And women's rights movement came off of, the end of slavery and stuff. So like all of these things come off of the backs of our struggle. They benefit from it. And then when they benefit from it, now it's being taken away. Now they see that, now it's a problem. So I don't really think it has much to do with us. I don't think Black women necessarily are following this trend per se.
Oh yeah, they are. They absolutely are. There's TikToks and Instagrams all over the place about it. They all in.
Okay.
And I don't know if y'all remember this, but remember this movie from a couple years back?
Oh yeah, Chirac.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now one of the main threads of the movie was they were gonna abstain because they didn't want the fighting, the gang violence in their neighborhoods. But what's interesting about all of this, especially the context of it, is this comes from an old Grecian comedy. This was a comedy. This was theater. And they took the tenets of that old Grecian comedy and theater and applied it to real life. And then you had total subsets of women groups all over throughout history up to now mimicking this stuff to what end? So is it reactionary or does it really yield benefits?
Well,
What do y'all
and
think?
it's kind of interesting and kind of ironic. Think about how ironic it is. These women are reacting this way, but most of the white women voted for Trump.
Right.
So it's like, it's kind of ironic that, now we're saying, oh my God, but yet you're voting against your interest anyway. And so I still think that somebody else is wagging the tail somewhere, in the background somewhere, the puppet master, because it just don't make sense right now because because this guy's in office.
I think we got brother Gerald on the show. Can you hear me, bro?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you on, bro. Peace. Welcome to the show. What do you think of what we're talking about currently?
Specify it for me. Salute to all the brothers on the show. My name is Gerald.
Gerald, pardon me, bro.
Oh, Gerald, what's good, Gerald? That's Frat.
Yes, sir.
Oh,
yes, sir.
yeah.
Yes,
Peace,
sir.
bro. Peace.
What's going on, AJ? What's going on?
Peace.
Peace. Fraternal, how you feeling?
Good, man. Good. I'm glad you could join the show, man.
Hey, man, I'm glad to finally be here and show some love and support, brother.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Oh, that's dope. That's dope. So
yes, sir.
We're in the middle of talking about this 4B movement that the sisters have allied themselves to. And in reaction to what's going on with in reaction to what's going on with, the aftermath of the election.
Okay.
And I guess the quintessential question I'm asking is it reactionary or is it valid what's going on, and do you think it has any sustainability, or is just a one and done based on grasping for straws and chicken little as sky is falling?
I caught a little bit of it before I got off the phone, but can you summarize for me exactly what this 4B movement is? I'm a little bit out the loop, and I'm totally removed from social media, so I have no idea what that is.
So I'll put up the headline for it right here. It says, "No sex, no dating, no marriage, no children. Interest grows in the 4B movement. Women swear off men because of the aftermath of the Trump election." They believe that they're, women's rights are being threatened, and they believe that there's a subset or at least a larger class of men or grouping of men that voted for Trump that are brothers. And now this is the new way that they want to organize themselves and culturalize themselves. Your thoughts?
Oh, okay. Well, my thought, purely conjecture and speculation.
Okay.
Just from, without looking into it, just from what that sounds like, it seems like, part 2 of feminism. No sex, no men, no dating. It sounds like some type of an agenda. Maybe I don't know if it's a portion of another level of population control or not. But for me, regardless of the group or when the time is, whenever I hear divisive talk like that to separate the men from the women, or we're better than, I'm not with it. I don't support it. I think it's crazy. I'm a little old-fashioned, very old-fashioned in most of my views, but just by the sound of it, it's a little cuckoo and crazy. I wouldn't entertain that talk with any female in my circle or my kids. I don't think it's a good idea. I think it's a horrible idea. A horrible idea, just from that title alone.
Yeah, man. So I
think that's something that
go ahead.
Would have been pushed without Trump. I think it's something that might have been pushed at some point or another without Trump being in office, just based on the decades of women's empowerment movement. But again, just speculation. It's just my speculation. I don't know. But just from that title alone, I think it's a little cuckoo. I wouldn't entertain that subject too much in a serious manner, as if someone is for real, because I just don't see it in my world. I don't see it in my world. I just anybody that supports that type of thing, we wouldn't get along very well. So I don't see that. To me, that's akin as just being buddy with a Ku Klux Klan member. Our ideals don't align. What reasons do we have to hang out? Because my viewpoints are the antithesis of that kind of statement and message. So if it's something, hey, we'll see how it goes up. Otherwise, I think it's part of an agenda, propaganda, part two of feminism, and or population control.
So,
I'm
Brother
complete with
Mozzie,
that.
why do you think these sorts of popularized, sensationalized movements are so like are so attractive? Why do you think that they gain so much momentum in a time like this? What are your thoughts?
Something
Because
like this
most
4B
people,
thing type of thing.
I think
What
it's
is it?
mainly
Somebody?
because most people aren't aware. And so they think that
Yeah.
some of the things that they're involved in, they think it's very nouveau and cutting edge. And it's like, nah, no. Somebody's pulling the strings, look a little deeper. And so we just buy into a lot of stuff, man, that we just have no knowledge or no understanding. So, especially for our people in particular, man, we just buy into stuff. And then when you sit down and talk to them about it, they look at you like, oh my God, for real? They're like, well, didn't you know this when you signed on to it? But, it's that kind of craziness, man. And I see why, white women want that to happen because there's still that thing of we do not want non-white people producing children. So there's always that population control piece, and somebody's always in the background fanning that flame. But I think as it relates to our people, we just, we buy in so much into the mainstream of white America, especially a lot of our sisters that, we think they're starting to think that they are them. You know what I mean? So their issues is the same as ours, and they're not. And that's where we have our problems. And this is why this stuff tends to, get turned into some grandiose new movement of some sort because a lot of our folks just don't know, man. We get so caught up into pop culture that we don't look between the lines to see what's really going on.
Agreed. Repeat the question again, AJ, please.
Oh no, I was just asking why do you think that the popularism of something like this from a
Okay.
sensational standpoint is so attractive? Is it like,
Okay. I
trying
got you.
to trying to hang on to do they feel a void like they're
Yeah, there is a
powerless
void.
now
I
that
think
go ahead.
I think it's due to I think it's highly due to because number one, the community has been destroyed. We no longer we don't have that anymore. So there's no community, there's no guidance, there's no masculine head of house, right? So now you have a lot of different people running around trying to make sense and what they want to do, looking for guidance. And a lot of people have traded in their culture, their families, and values for capitalism or for the paycheck or for the career thing. So long as this big conglomerate system is putting out modes of being that people are willing to adapt to because they don't have their own cultural or familial value systems, it's not going to stop. And the only people that's going to have a direct effect, well, not a direct effect, because everybody will be affected if society moves that direction. The people who will be moving towards that are the people who don't have a value system, who aren't cultured, and that come from a home that doesn't offer them a value system for them to use as guidance on and how they live their lives. That's what I see. Because all that talk right there, any women I've seen uttering that stuff, including some of my aunties, they're all lonely by themselves, proud, money, and alone on some Kevin Samuels level. They're all like that. And I've seen that with their daughters that have done the same. I'm like, yo, y'all are for the birds.
Do y'all
We
think this
don't
is a healthy perspective? Can we sustain this as a people?
know. Well, from my perspective, for us as Black people, or just for the family unit, period, it's not healthy. But for government purposes, to get people to further rely on the system because you've broken what they had and you further deteriorate neighborhoods and communities, it's good for them. Not good for the people, not good for the communities.
So Tokyo attempted something like this in 2011. South Korea is going through it right now. Even going back to the formation of the country, the Iroquois went through this when they were trying to, when they had actual war on their doorstep, and they wanted the warring tribes to cease and desist, and it worked in those environments. Are we trying to mimic a war that is not really happening with this sort of a movement? Is that the way this is being interpreted?
That's how I look at it. I think it's some, folks, a figment of their imagination, because they can't give you, once again, like I said before, these things that they're reacting to took place years ago. Now he wins a second time, and now we're talking about all these things. I mean, does it make sense?
And then Essence came out with this. This is very interesting, I thought, and very progressive of Essence, because you really don't see things like this happening. Obama came out and tried to be everybody's daddy right before the election happened. And then Essence comes through with an apology to black men. But yet we still have a subset of our ladies that buy into this stuff. What do we think?
We have some sisters, man. I don't care what we do or what we say. They done bought into the super black woman, and they will not back down from it. So yes, they will buy into that.
They probably will. And if they're going to buy in, I don't know if there's any way to save them. I'm not trying to. I just know that my woman, the people in my circle, wouldn't be there if they were on that level.
Yeah, I like the people I associate with. That's why I'm not really buying it 100%, at least in the black community, because I just don't hear people in the black community talking like that. And I work in like predominantly black communities, I work with predominantly black women, and you know what I mean? There's a handful of males in my profession. So
right, let's talk about it.
Yeah, I just don't hear that kind of talk. Are people upset, that Trump won? Yeah, a lot of people are upset, and a lot of women are upset that Trump won. But I really don't hear like forget men, it's men's fault, stuff like that. Because it was said earlier. I mean, it was a large percentage of white women that voted for Trump anyway. So how you gonna be mad at men when a large percentage of white women voted for Trump? So
well, those are the tropes that get put out there by these large mockingbird media groups that you heard it right before the election.
Propaganda is going to do what it do.
There you go.
How do we steer our folks clear of the propaganda, of the tropes? Now you got people like Joy Reid coming back saying, well, the results of the election is you're probably going to see, if white women are asking black women to do this, you're probably going to find black women just being about their families now. They're not going to be about the identity politics that were taking place before the election. What do you think of a mention like that from somebody that's, that's such a macro influence? Brother Mozzie, what's your thoughts?
Well, I think the end result, if that's the end result, that's a good thing for us, because we need men and women in our communities to be focused more on our families. And, maybe if we can focus on our families and build our families, we can then start to build our communities. And if we can start to build our communities, we can eventually build the black nation. You know what I mean? But it's kind of like, the drug dealer who sells drugs in the community, and now he wants to be the guy who tells us, this is how we're going to solve the problems in the community. I take what Joy says with a grain of salt, only because even though she's right in saying that, I don't trust her, because, she was one of the main ones out here, pushing that bad stuff to us, man.
So, Brother Garrow, what do you think that presupposes about where people were before that comment? Where was the electorate for? Where was the Democratic electorate before the outcome of the election? What was their
Yeah.
mindset?
Again, I'll respond again. Take my response with a grain of salt,
Mm-hmm.
as pure speculation. Uh, I don't delve into that pool much at all. I don't pay
Mm.
too much attention to the elections. Voluntarily do not vote. I don't look for the system to solve my problems. You know, I
Mm.
try to get to it on my own and figure it out. And that's how I was brought up. That's the family dynamic I had. And that's what I'm going to keep doing moving forward. So anybody who was lost, I hope they get found sooner or later, whether it's before the election or after the next election. My primary view, my point is always going to be geared towards building the family. Building the family
Right.
with proper hierarchy, old school style, man, woman, child. That's it. That's how I'm forever and always going to view it.
Absolutely. So I want to take us out with another excerpt from Brother uh, Shaheed King Bolson, doctor, and he has some interesting stuff to say about the permanence and power of our people. And I thought it's worth a listen. Check this out. Let me run this. Let me get this together. Boom, boom. And you can find this on the African Diaspora Network on YouTube. Check them out. They're really dope. They do a lot of topics that are about self sufficiency and purposefulness of our people. So go give them a shout. Go like and subscribe to their network. I thought he had an interesting thing to say, and it can make you think a little bit harder about who we give our voluntary consent to and who we don't. Let's check this out. Real HD Show.
When I get off the show.
Who were more
Right.
held back,
I'll just set it in the living room.
more deprived,
Well,
more
make sure he don't get
sabotaged
it.
than African Americans. You took everything away from them and took them away from everything. They started in your country at less than zero, literally regarded and treated as subhuman, not allowed to learn to read or write or anything for hundreds of years. But you see, they come from a people of accomplishment to one degree or another, not a people of piracy and theft and appropriation. They come from a people who created and built and developed in their own land. And even though you did everything that you could possibly do to suppress them, to hold them down, to hold them back, and you're still doing that until today, nevertheless, I don't think anyone can dispute the fact that African Americans have become a global cultural superpower. Culturally, they're a superpower. Whatever cultural soft power that America has in the global South, it's African American.
So he basically labeled us a superpower all over the world. And,
All right. Is there any validity to that, fellas? What do we think?
I would say absolutely. He's absolutely correct. African American culture is everywhere in the world. You can't go to any corner of this planet and not see someone who's not supposed to have kinky hair trying to make their hair kinky. Somebody who's listening to hip hop and breakdancing looking crazy. They don't care. It's just you don't see any of that. Our culture is spread deep throughout the world. So he's absolutely 100% correct on that end.
Brother Garrow, your thoughts?
I agree. I think that a little complex. I agree with it, but I think that once we're able to, like, what Sever said makes sense, but it's almost insulting. Like, why are we known just for our hip hop culture worldwide, the African Americans, instead of what it is that we have to offer, which is way more than the various forms of entertainment that are pushed to the world about what African Americans and Black people have to offer.
But you know what I would say to that, Garrow, is it's not just the culture, it's what the culture brings financially that
Right.
these other cultures are looking at. You could see, like, they see how hip hop helped resurrect a lot of urban poor, change kind of the dynamics, man, of like to some extent, were poor people. Like it was a mechanism for them to get out the hood. If you look at our hip hop artists, it was a mechanism for them to get out the hood. When you go to the depths of like the Philippines, you hear them rapping. India, you hear them rapping. Japan, you hear them rapping.
You
Right?
got breaking in the Olympics now
You hear
too.
them rapping. It's their way to get out the hood because they want an economic way to get out, and this is what it's given to them.
I'm glad you say that. Check this. So before hip hop started out in the park, you know what I'm saying? Before that, what were Black Americans doing to get out the hood?
So that's a good question. That's a good question. It was just, I would say that they were still doing entertainment, right?
But
That's
wasn't getting them out the
one factor. It's one factor.
But entertainment then, remember, entertainment then was like more or less a regular paying job. It wasn't as fruitful financially. It wasn't as fruitful financially as it is today. Right. Way back then.
I think one of the things that's happening is when we talk about culture, we always relate it to the entertainment industry.
Right.
There's a culture, but there's another culture that we had as a people, and that was a culture of determination. Given the fact that we were probably some of the most exploited and beaten down people on this planet, we still continued to determine what we were going to be and how we were going to end up. Remember, from the time we walked off the plantations up until about the 50s and the 60s, we had a lot of Black businesses, a lot of Black thinkers. All our great thinkers came out of that time period, which gave these other countries the blueprint for how they need to go and where they need to be. So there's other aspects when we start talking about this from a cultural perspective. We got to always try to encompass all of who we are as Black people, not just hip hop or entertainment. And unfortunately, we get caught in that a lot of times. And I can see how we can get caught like that, but there's just much, much more. I mean,
and I would say, I think we know that. I think we know that, but I think what AJ's point that he brought up is relating to all the people around the world that view us globally, and like, what do they see, on the from the media and stuff, and why do they take that and make it a part of who they are? And I don't look at that necessarily, as a negative thing, because I see them using that as a means for them to get out of their circumstances or their negative circumstances wherever they come from,
Right. Well, that's all I'm getting at. No, I agree with you, but all I was getting at was, I know from my travels, what I found is that culture of determination. People understood, like, wow, here you guys are, and you live amongst the enemy. We don't live amongst the enemy. When I've gone to the continent, we live amongst ourselves. So if you guys can do and build what you build, that's what we want to do here. And so they look at what we've done over here to do what they need to do over there. Now, so so you do have a certain level of other parts of the culture that really is very prevalent when you go around the world. And it's not just entertainment. That's basically all I'm saying, is that there are other aspects that are very prevalent.
And good brothers, let's not forget that there's a political culture or political legacy of omission that goes on within the United States. Daughters of the Confederacy. Now you got the Moms for Liberty. And we had over 60, 80 townships across the United States that were economically thriving and surviving because we posed a threat to the dominant society, and we didn't have the advent of, authority or force, right? Those societies and those inventions, those acculturations fell by the wayside, and now they're national parks and lakes. You know what I'm saying? Where it could have been American institutions with our names on them. So how do we? So I guess we need a movement to not only just appreciate hip hop, but also now use that as I guess, winds in our sails to reclaim all the other stuff. It's almost like Killmonger when he went into the museum and he saw all of the art, and he was ready to gank all that. He was like, "Give me that," He's ready to take it all back right then and there. So we're gonna get ready to pop off. I'm gonna let y'all have the last word on this, and we're gonna get ready to get out of here. Brother Garrow, you got it.
Hey, it's been a pleasure coming on the show, AJ. Definitely want to get. I would love to support your show again in the future.
Please, please.
Yeah, it's been probably a quarter century since I last saw you, man. 25 years probably. But
right.
That aside, I think what you're doing here is dope.
Thank you, brother.
I think it would be great. I think it would be duly beneficial for you to extend this to other brothers in the frat, and bring your ass back into the fold, man. We need your energy. We need that vibe.
Yes,
we
sir.
definitely need that.
Understood.
Yeah, man, for real. And I think what I see here, just the intellect here is powerful. Brothers could do something. I'm always rocking out with Sev. Sev always got something sizzling for your ear to go ahead. Brother, I don't remember. I didn't catch the name. I forgot it right here, but he definitely
Brother
speaks
Mozzie.
well. Brother Mozzie, he made some great points that I heard. I think if this is happening regular, it shouldn't be confined to just with minds like this. It shouldn't be confined to just this radio show. This needs to be put out to the people.
Oh, it is. It's everywhere. It's just folks are slow to come through. So, if you could help us by sharing the show, that would be love. I appreciate it.
Yo, man, that's what I'm all about, being effective. You can't keep. You got the best secret in the world if you ain't got no marketing, then it ain't doing nobody any good.
Hey, man, I'm trying.
Now you're doing it. You're doing it, bro. You can't do it all, so we're gonna get there.
Some, that marketing is expensive though. That promotion. That costs bread. By the way, shout out to Brother Mozzie and shout out to Sister Jazz for the really, really dope donation to the show. And if you guys want to also share and donate to the show, please hit the Cash App, $ the Real HD Show, $ the Real HD Show. The mini flex is $25, the max flex $100. And we could have things like this go mainstream. We trying.
Yeah, I definitely want to. I think let's talk. Let's talk off of this. Let's talk and shoot me another way that I could donate, because I don't have Cash App. I don't have none of those things. Just got zero.
Yeah, I got Venmo too. Also, I have a Real HD chat group that's kind of popping. They be on there beefing with each other every day over this, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and I love it though, because
that's Seb's move right there. That's Seb's speed. That's Seb's speed.
Seb ain't never heard a debate he don't like. So,
yeah.
Yes, sir. Well, I love y'all, man, and I appreciate y'all rocking out with the Real HD Show. Tap in on Wednesday at 8:00 when we come on back, and we're going to do it again. We do topics that are a little more softcore. We have a little more fun, tell some jokes, do some things that are off kilter, but they all about our people and our progression and our purpose, moving forward for the rest of the 21st century. And for everybody here on the Real HD Show, everybody at home, we want to say peace and walk with power, and we want y'all to like, share, and subscribe. Turn on your comments, so every time we have a Real HD Show, you guys could join us and have a higher discussion. All right, y'all. Peace.
Peace.
Y'all have a great evening. Y'all love on each other.